listening to the DFS On Deck podcast, brought to you by LineStar, the top-rated DFS tool set and #1 companion for DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo Daily Fantasy. Go LineStar Premium now at LineStarApp.com. Now, here are your hosts, fantasy baseball experts Joe Pisapia and Chris Meany.
Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? It's me, Joe Pisapia, and welcome to On Deck right here on the LineStar app. It's me, just solo today. That's right, hashtag Solo Joe. It's just going to be some quality time, you and I hanging out, talking DFS, getting ready for the Monday slate, and of course, Chris Meany, don't worry, he's on his way back. He'll be back for tomorrow's show. All will be right with the world. The band will be back together. I'm hoping the wedding went well. I know in Canada, usually when the wedding is over, the bride and groom, they drive away to a Bare Naked Ladies song, and everybody, instead of throwing rice, they just apologize and say, sorry, as they continue to drive off onto honeymoons and sunsets and all that good stuff. But we are here and it's Monday and it's time to get at it again. But before we do, what do we like to do? We like to take a look back and see the weekend that was. And I'll tell you what, our pinch hitters this past week, Dan Stratford and Tim Heaney, did an outstanding job. And if you listen to the shows on Wednesday and on Friday and Saturday, we absolutely crushed it. I mean, we're talking about having Marquez in Colorado, going with that full stack on that side. Absolutely gangbusters on that. On Sunday, you know, the reuse start, we were all over that, going right after the Nationals. It was just, look, it was just a beautiful cornucopia of DFS things, and we absolutely nailed them, and I want to thank those guys especially. And I think you can feel comfortable here on the On Deck show that we are always going to have the highest quality people here because that's what LineStar does. And speaking of high quality, make sure you have already downloaded and are using the LineStar app and making sure you're using that along with the podcast to make up your lineups. It's what you want to do. And look, just to recap yesterday real quick too, Chris Bryant continues to just be absolutely outstanding, really showing everybody he is healthy. So look, everybody who panicked in April, you just needed to calm down and just wait. We talked about that Ryu start. Look, Ryu's putting up Kurt Schilling, Greg Maddux type numbers. He is elite. Whether you think of him as elite or not, he is. The price is pretty much near elite. We went right after him against Strasburg. We thought the ownership would be right, and certainly it was. And I mean, just scoreless innings there for Ryu, almost a no-hitter. Just a brilliant start by him yet again. Unfortunately, we got some bad news over the weekend too. Altuve's out with an injury, but what does that say? Well, it means that Ledmus Diaz is going to be playing a little bit in his stead. And I'll tell you what, he swung a hot bat over the weekend, so why not keep rolling with that? The price hasn't caught up to him. We're going to get to that and a whole lot more starting right now. So let's start with the Baltimore Orioles and the New York Yankees. Jonathan Loaiziga is going to be taking on David Hess in New York. Now, weather looks like it could be an issue here in this one. It's going to be cold. It's going to be rainy. Humidity is 90%, precipitation 77%. It's a 6:35 start too, so it's a little tricky in terms of slates and how you're doing things. So basically, I'm kind of leaving this one alone. If you want to figure out a way to get involved in this one, the best case to say is just kind of load up on those Yankee guys. And I'll tell you what, those bottom of the order Yankee bats continue to be pretty good. But look, if this one gets rained out, it would not be shocking at all. So let's start with 705, and let's start with Aaron Nola and Freddie Peralta in this one. Now, look, weather's going to be chilly here. That's fine. Nola's pitched better in the last few starts. That's a good thing. Certainly getting back on track after what was a really rough April for him. And Freddie Peralta's been one of these guys that, you know, he has these moments of being, wow, look at Freddie Peralta. And then he's got some other moments that are, oh, wow, look at Freddie Peralta. And I think that's the thing that I want to take advantage of here. Doing some homework on the LineStar app today, one of the favorite stacks of the day is that Philadelphia stack. And it's Harper, Hoskins, Segura, and McCutchen. And you'd say, well, on a night like tonight, can I get all those guys in? And I'm telling you right now, you absolutely can. You could do it on both sides. You could do it on the DraftKings side pretty easy with some pitchers in those, even the 9K range, which we're going to talk about in a second. It's very easy to get that stack in from the Philadelphia side. And on the FanDuel side, it's even easier because some of the pitching on the FanDuel side tonight, we're going to get to in a little bit, the guys under or around that 9K range also, very, very user-friendly, good matchups, good abilities here to get some bats that you want and some very responsible pitchers. And we're talking cash and we're talking tournaments. I think this is a stack that carries over into both. You don't have Milwaukee in play in terms of the ballpark. You don't have Colorado in play in terms of the ballpark. But what you do have is a hitter-friendly environment, a guy in Peralta who's been pretty hittable, and I'm going to go and I'm going to troll him tonight. And I think you should too, and I think the numbers support that as well. Harper, by the way, just 4,400 on the DraftKings side. You're going to have to pay for Hoskins. He's the big ticket item at 54. And on the FanDuel side there, Hoskins at 44, Harper at 44, so they are right locked in. And look, McCutchen, Segura, also pretty good values, return on investments. So when it comes to Aaron Nola tonight, he's basically the same price on either side. I think you can go with him. I'm just a little concerned with it being a cold night, how he kind of reacts to that. He's been much better of late. I think there's some better guys on the board. If you want to go all in with the Phillies, that's perfectly fine. I think you can do that if you're playing multi-entry situations. But if you want to shy away from him and just go with the Philadelphia Bats, you could do that as well. And that's also showing respect for Milwaukee and how good of a lineup they've been. One more thing to point out in this game, too. I know he has sat the last couple days. He sat against all the lefties. Nola's a righty. Now, Nola's not exactly the righty you want to get healthy against, but Travis Shaw has dropped all the way to 2,600. If he's in the lineup tonight, he's one of those lineup builder kind of guys on the DraftKings side that can really help you pay up for a Hoskins and get some of those big-time bats that you want in your lineup. All right, so let's move on to the next one here. Brad Peacock and Matt Boyd lock up in Detroit. Now, for this one, this is a tricky one. This is my upset pick of the night, too, because I know Houston is great. Springer's been out of his mind. Bregman's been hot, too. But they do have Altuve out of this lineup right now. And Brad Peacock has been up and down. I think we can all agree that. But Matt Boyd has been exceptional. And he's at 8,800 tonight. And he's a guy that I am all over as the Oppo play of the night. I think that Springer and this group deserve all the credit in the world and all the respect in the world. However, there's something about Matt Boyd that I don't think we're giving enough respect to. Now, of course, the Detroit lineup has to show up just a little bit for him, and there have been some moments where somebody's been poking them with a stick here and there. But when you're talking about Matt Boyd and you're talking about Peacock tonight, to me, I see a lot of opportunity here to be contrarian a little bit because it seems like one of the favorite stacks of tonight, and it makes sense because they've been so damn hot, has been the Houston Astros. But at the same time, Matt Boyd has been equally good. And I think there's a certain point in time when you have to look at it and say, okay, how good is momentum? Well, they usually say it's as good as the next day's starting pitcher. And the next day's starting pitcher has been pretty darn good here. Matt Boyd has been really everything you could possibly ask for him. And I think that a lot of people are going to be off on him tonight because of the matchup and because of the price. He's 9,900 on the one side, looking at, and so the FanDuel side, I can understand people fading away at the 99. But on the 88, that's $1,000 difference there between the two sides. And for me, I think Matt Boyd is a guy as a secondary pitcher you can roll with tonight. I think he can make some cash there. So if you want to just go the other route or you want to try to hedge your bets here tonight, that's fine. You can go with that stack of the Houston Astros in one lineup and then go find pitching elsewhere. We could talk about Berrios. We could talk about guys like Robbie Ray who are going to be in play tonight a little later on the show. However, if you are looking to try to shake things up a little bit in the tournaments, and you're looking for a little bit of contrarian play that probably has a little bit of life, I think it's Matt Boyd. I think a lot of people are not going to be on it. I think Matt Boyd deserves a lot of respect. Again, more of a DraftKings play than a FanDuel play. I think he's a little expensive to find that out tonight. So looking at that too, the stack of the night too, in terms of projectability over on the LineStar app, is Springer, Bregman, Brantley, Correa. Duh, of course. And it's a little expensive. It's going to be tough to do, but it is doable. I've done it in a couple lineups already tonight just to see what it looks like, and it's absolutely doable. You can make it work, so don't cry and say it's too expensive because it's not. It's perfectly fine. If you want to try to hedge your bets and skip one, you can, but honestly, I think Diaz is that guy that sneaks in there for me, and I think that it's a pretty decent one as well, and that's on both sides too with Diaz. He's 3,600 on the DraftKings side, just 2,400 on FanDuel. And look, I mean, Diaz, not great, but we have seen moments from Diaz too, back in those Cardinal days where he's pretty good. And again, Boyd, excellent, but the last two games, there's a guy in Diaz who's put up some points. He's driven in 6 runs over his last 2 contests against Texas. He scored 2 runs. He's got 3 hits, a double in that game. So look, there is a lot you can get here in terms of return on investment on a guy like Diaz. He's a lineup builder, and he gets you involved in that. So if you don't want to go completely crazy, but you want some pieces of that Houston lineup, Diaz is a guy they can kind of play both sides of the fence with. All right, so let's continue on here, and let's talk about Tyler Skaggs, the lefty taking on Jose Barrios of the Minnesota Twins. Now, Barrios obviously got to pay for. He is 9.4K over on the DraftKings side. Over on the FanDuel side, even more expensive, and that is deserved so. I mean, why wouldn't he be? Because Barrios at $10,400 makes a lot of sense. And here's the thing. I'm looking at Barrios, and you look at the lines, and you're looking at the totals here. He's thrown up big start after big start after big start. So if you're looking for cash games and safe, I think you can go ahead here. And I know that lineup's got Ohtani back. I understand that. I understand that's a big positive. But at the same time, good pitching usually wins out. So for me, it's not enough. I'm not super excited about this one. I would much rather be living with the Phillies tonight if I could. Barrios is going to cost you. But in terms of the safest, chalkiest guy on the board tonight, I can't argue with it because the numbers support it. And it's at home. And on top of that, there's no weather issue. And on top of that, you're getting an Angels lineup that's very top heavy, still with Trout and Ohtani. If you can avoid those guys, I think you can get through the Goodwins and the Cole Calhouns and Luke Roys and Cozarts of the world pretty damn easy. So that's where I'm going tonight. All right, let's go to the next one here. And it's Shane Bieber at 9K on the DraftKings side, taking on Reynaldo Lopez. Oh, it's 6.8. Oh, Reynaldo, you tease. Remember a couple weeks ago when Reynaldo Lopez had a couple good starts and people were saying, oh my God, Reynaldo Lopez, he might be pulling out of it. Oh my God, it might be finally happening. Well, maybe not so much with the Reynaldo Lopez. And this is one of those things that you see happen every now and then where you look at a guy like Lopez and you go, you see the talent and you see what could be. And obviously Washington was high on him when they made that deal years ago with the Adam Eaton situation there, which was such a haul. And if Giolito finally pans out, my goodness, they'll finally get something right in that deal, one of those sides. But looking at Lopez too, gave up 9 hits in his last start. The start before that gave up 8 hits. So being an imminently hittable guy, even against a weak lineup like Cleveland, I think is a great opportunity for Shane Bieber owners. And I'll say this too. Everybody knows, it's no secret, I don't love the Indians lineup, but Lindor, Kipnis, Ramirez, or if you want to even go, because again, Kipnis is very cheap. He's a guy that's going to help you get that stack in Philadelphia taken care of. Just $2,500 on the FanDuel side. He's a guy you can get involved in with tonight, hitting possibly second in that order. So I don't love the Cleveland bats. Everybody knows on this show, Chris and I like to talk about that Cleveland lineup being lackluster at best. However, on a night like tonight, a guy like Reynaldo Lopez, who's very hittable, I think Lindor, Ramirez, Kipnis, even Carlos Santana, all in play tonight, and pretty reasonably priced too. We're talking, in that mid-4 range for those guys, typically on DraftKings. Now, Bieber, on the other hand, we know the strikeouts are there. We know that's a lineup that can bear strikeouts over in the Chicago White Sox side. The White Sox lineup also with a 24% K rate against right-handed pitching, so that favors Shane Bieber a lot tonight. He is one of my favorite pitchers, and I'll tell you what, putting him and my boy Matt Boyd together in a lineup is pretty. Okay, you could do it on the DraftKings side. You're spending a little bit more average than we normally do, but it's a Monday slate. It's a little bit lighter, so we're missing some games in there. So for me, it's a no-brainer. Bieber and Boyd together, it's about going to cost you 17.8 on the DraftKings side. Usually it's a little bit more than I'd like to spend. However, tonight, I think you can do it, especially when some of these stacks, you're not paying through the nose for a Colorado grouping. So Bieber, absolutely in play tonight. I like pairing him with Boyd because I think he's safer. If you prefer to do Bieber and Nola, you could do that as well and take that into account. All right, let's get to Robbie Ray hosting the Pittsburgh Pirates and Nick Kingham. Now, Nick Kingham, obviously cheap here, 6.5. Kingham, a prospect who's bounced back and forth with the Pirates the last year or so, and he's got a little bit of talent, but this Pirate lineup is struggling a bit. Now, the funny thing is, you look at Robbie Ray's pricing, this is a tale of two sites here. You got Robbie Ray at 10K over on the DraftKings side. And you think, oh my gosh, wow, that's a lot for Robbie Ray, even though the numbers are good. Not so much on FanDuel, boys and girls. 8,800 for Robbie Ray tonight on the FanDuel side. And I think that's a play that I am all in on. He is the highest return on investment in the optimizer on the LineStar app tonight, and with good reason. Last 3 starts points-wise on FanDuel, 33, 41, and 50. He's on a good run here. He's only had 2 home starts. Now, home has been a little tricky for Robbie Ray in the past, but I think tonight, this matchup against a light-hitting team with the Pittsburgh Pirates can get it done. Pirates have a 25% strikeout rate against lefties, just a 3.06 WOBA versus left-handed pitching, and also 1.20 ISO versus lefties. So all of those factors really get into a good situation. Now, we all know that ballpark is that ballpark, but at the same time, I think it's all about pricing. On DraftKings, I completely fade away from Robbie Ray. On FanDuel, I'm all in on Robbie Ray tonight. He's my favorite return on investment as well. And that was even before I got to the optimizer on LineStar, but all the stats here back that up. And yeah, Robbie Ray sometimes is a bit of a 5 2/3, and that's because he's a little bit inefficient. However, I think tonight he can get past that. I think the opportunity, considering the limited slate, makes that more appealing. I would say in terms of pitchers tonight, you could put him exactly in that mix and mix and match if you want to do a couple multi-entry things over on the FanDuel side as well, because Bieber's at 95, a little bit more expensive, but Nola's right there at 93, Robbie Ray's at 88. You can mix and match those guys and get a good feel. Now, you can't do that with Boyd over on the FanDuel side either, because he's 99. So in terms of mixing and matching, Robbie Ray and Nola, maybe you can push the limits a little bit to Shane Bieber if you can find a little bit more offensive discounts. But for me, that's the way to attack that slate, and those are your pitchers you can move in and out tonight. Because the bottom-feeding pitchers tonight are not great. I don't like Peacock against Boyd on the other side of that game. I don't like Skaggs. Reynaldo Lopez, I already hammered him. Freddie Peralta, we hammered him. And Nick Kingham leaves a lot to be desired here. So Robbie Ray is definitely a guy you want to get involved in. In terms of the offense here, this is a bit of a tricky one here because you got to pay for David Peralta at 5-1. You got to pay for Christian Walker at 4-9. You got to pay for Ketel Marte at 5-2. That is super expensive on the DraftKings side to get involved with any kind of Arizona stack. So I don't love this from a return on investment. It's not that they can't perform. It's just on the DraftKings side, you really need them to perform. A little bit better on FanDuel. Marte's 3.7, Peralta 4.2, Adam Jones even in the middle of 3.3. So a little bit better there. Christian Walker 3.6. But I'll tell you what, I'm still going balls to the wall with the Philadelphia Phillies. That's where I'm rocking and rolling tonight. I love that lineup against Freddie Peralta. And if I'm not, my secondary one is still Cleveland. That's still where I'm looking. One more game to get to, and it's Mike Fiers, and you say Kikuchi, and I say no, thank you. That's right, because that's what we continue to do here on the program. And I know Mike Fiers, everybody, hooting and hollering about Mike Fiers and the no-hitter, and he's riding the wave. And sure, Mike Fiers is going to have those moments in his career where he gives you a great outing. He's done it before. But I want to bring up some other things too, and that is Chris Davis, most importantly. Chris Davis, 3.8 on FanDuel. Matt Olson, 2.8 on FanDuel. Ramon Laureano, 2.5 on FanDuel. Profar, 2.9 on FanDuel. So we have got a pricing stack on the FanDuel side of the A's that looks to be very much in play tonight. Now, how's the DraftKings side play out for the Oakland A's? A little bit trickier here. Now, it's 4 for Chris Davis, which I think is a nice value. It's a good return there. Piscotty's at 3.6 right ahead of him. Olsen, because of the pricing in the lefty-on-lefty matchup, I'm going to pass on that. Same thing with Laureano there at 3.4 and Profar 3.5. But I think Chris Davis, return on investment on both sides, good. On FanDuel, a little bit better for the Oakland A's. Not so much on the DraftKings side tonight against Kikuchi. And look, I'm not a fan of Kikuchi. I'm not a fan of Fiers. I'm looking for some offense here in this game. Between these two, it's looking like it's probably the over-under is 8. I'm going to take the over in this one. I'm telling you right now, the over in the Oakland game is what I want. And I'll tell you what, the upset of the night, give me the Tigers. I think Matt Boyd can throw up a gem and limit this offense. If they could just scratch out 3 runs for Matt Boyd, I think Boyd can get a W. So those are your 2 wagering plays of the night here over on the LineStar App on Deck show. So it's time to call our shot, as we always like to do on the show. And I'm all by myself calling my shot, by the way. Trevor Story's Friday called shot. Nailed it. Some say, well, it's easy. Oh, it's Trevor Story against a lefty in Colorado. And you know what I say to that? Well, you don't get extra points for being fancy, and you don't get any points for being wrong. So guess what? Right is right. Making the good premium investment and getting the premium return is good daily fantasy. It's good fantasy, period. So, that being said, guess where I'm going? I'm going to the city of brotherly love. I'm going to Philadelphia, baby. And I'm going with my boy Rhys Hoskins against Freddie Peralta tonight. So I'm calling my shot. Rhys Hoskins, if you're listening, don't worry, I'm not a sick kid. I don't need the home run. But I would like it because I'd like to keep the streak going. So Rhys Hoskins is my guy tonight in Philadelphia. So just to recap tonight, looking ahead at the DFS slate, going with that Philadelphia stack, love it tonight across the board. Still pretty easy despite some of the cost of the bigger bats like Harper and Hoskins. It is not difficult at all to be rolling with that against Freddie Peralta. Nola, good. Matt Boyd, great opportunity here against the Astros to make some money. Again, probably not a single entry tournament play, but if you're playing multi-entry tonight, definitely the way you want to go. DraftKings, I want all the shares. FanDuel, a little pricier to find that out. If you got the guts to do it, go for it. But the price is high. The price tag is high there. All right, Barrios, the safe chalk play of the night, and there ain't nothing wrong with that because the second half of that lineup for the Angels is rough, and Barrios has been absolutely brilliant. We didn't touch too much on that Twins lineup, but with Nelson Cruz being hurt too, I think you kind of shy away from that just a tad. I think Marwin Gonzalez is another one of those cheap players you could probably throw in tonight as well. But because of the injury there, with Cruz, I'm just a little sketch on the rest of that lineup because I think that's the guy that stirs the drink over there. And without him in that lineup potentially, or even not 100% Cruz, however you want to look at it, it's not the best situation. So, continuing to move on here, Shane Bieber, another guy we're all over. We are trolling Ronaldo Lopez tonight, and we're throwing him hard, and I think you can actually get some shares of that Cleveland offense. I know it sounds crazy, but against Ronaldo Lopez, he's the guy to do it against. Good ballpark factor as well. Robbie Ray, yes, on the FanDuel side. No on the DraftKings side. I think he's just a little too expensive there for him. And last but not least, let's get Chris Davis back in those lineups too because that guy mashes. Love him against the lefty in Kikuchi, and that is all. So you can follow me on the Twitter machine at Joe Pisapia17. And of course, you can follow my buddy Chris at Chris Meany, who will be back tomorrow. I miss him dearly. We'll get Canadian Kindness back. That's my nickname for Chris for all these years that we've been doing shows together. And of course, you can follow LineStar on Twitter at LineStar App and at LineStar MLB. Make sure you are listening and subscribing to the show. If you love the show is helping you. It takes 2 seconds. Go out there, leave a 5-star review, rate and review us. We appreciate it. It helps the cause, and that's what we want to do. Continue on with great success from baseball season. Roll that bad boy over into NFL and have a good time doing it because that's what we're all about here. Having fun, winning cash, and I don't know. Those two things sound pretty fun to me, and if you don't like that, then I think you hate fun. So that'll do it for me today, Joey P, Joe Pisapia. There's only one thing left to do, and that's step out of the on-deck circle and into the batter's box and go yard. We'll see you next time, kids.
You've been listening to the DFS On Deck podcast, brought to you by LineStar. Hit subscribe, tell a friend, and stay tuned for the next episode from fantasy baseball experts Joe Pisapia and Chris Meany.